It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
All right, it is Car Con Carne, the world's only food podcast recorded in a car. That car is my Mazda 3. I'm James Van Alstyne, and the destination this week is Dear Frank's. It's a local hot dog franchise of sorts in Glenview here on Finkston Road. Sitting shotgun is an old friend. He is a piano savant, David Allen.
Hello,
David.
Hello.
I wanted you to come on for many reasons, one of which I've known you since we were both literally children, like third grade.
Yeah.
So a lot of history there, but you have such interesting stories to tell, and the one I'm going to focus on most is this story of you triumphing over adversity.
Damn straight.
Let's get this one out of the way, because this is a big story. This is a fascinating story. David, this is human interest personified. You, my friend, are human interest stories personified.
Yeah, well, you know, they say a lot of things about me, but I've never heard that one, so I like it. All right,
so it all started with your brain.
Yes. Let's go back a little. So this is January. So, okay, so about a year ago, I went to see a neurologist. This was after years of, probably 3, 4, 5 years of trying to figure out why my right hand as a piano player was getting kind of weaker and kind of like less dexterity, less ability to do things I was normally able to do. I went through the whole range of everything you could possibly imagine, from, hey, you're getting old, hey, you've got carpal tunnel, you've got, arthritis, you name it. I thought I had it, right? And so I went through bouts in that. So fast forward, like I said, to about a year ago now, and I went to see a neurologist, and she said, well, there's some weakness there, but I can't rule something central out. So I wanted to do an MRI of your neck and your brain.
Okay, so you hear that. What do you think?
I'm thinking, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
She kind of said to me, she's like, there's a weakness there. I can't rule out that you didn't have a stroke or something, that a minor stroke, obviously, that you didn't know about or whatever. So let's check it out. And I'm, because I thought at this point my neck was bothering me, it hurt me, and I thought I got a pinched nerve or something that's stopping my arm from working. So I said, okay, went over to the hospital, and I had the MRIs done, and the next day she called me and said, here's what's on your brain.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's one of those moments that hits you, and you're like, whoa.
Now, is it one of those moments where you hear the words coming out and suddenly you're almost like out of body?
Yeah, exactly. I grabbed my iPad so I could open a notepad so I could take notes on what she was saying, because she's speaking about, that you have a vascular malformation, or also known as a cavernoma, and a cavernoma, whatever it's called.
A champagne cavernoma,
yeah,
I believe
exactly.
is what it's called.
Exactly. And it's in the right just by the left precentral gyrus, and I'm like, okay, some right in the, she did say at the beginning it's non-cancerous, so that at least gave me a little bit some relief, like, okay, I'm not gonna, all of a sudden I'm done. That's it. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's the I'm gonna make it till next year news. Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. She's like, this is who I want you to call, and the specific surgeon. I said okay, and I called, and I got in because I'm a working musician and I have my daytimes free. I got in to see him the next day, and he was like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. There it is. He showed me the film, and I got to tell you, when you see a film of your brain, just even a picture, like MRI picture, and then you see this mass sitting there, you're like, whoa, because it was pretty sizable.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, fine. I said, what's entailed? He said, probably a couple hours of surgery. He showed me his surgical path. I have a good way to get this out. Cool. I'm like, great, no problem. A couple hours in surgery. He's like a couple of days in the hospital. You go home and you take a few weeks, just sort of laying low. And then you should be able to kind of get back to normal, slowly. But surely you're at it.
So we're talking brain surgery.
Right.
You are my age. I don't think of us as older guys. I mean, I guess compared to, say, my 14-year-old son, we are. But I don't think of us as old men. This is the kind of stuff you don't expect to hear at our age.
No, not at all. You hear of the crazy, the unexpected heart attack or something like that, but no, generally not. And so I was like, okay. I like an idiot, and I will call myself an idiot on this wonderful podcast and say
it is wonderful.
I said, okay, that's cool. He's like, it's not an emergency, so I'm like, okay, well, I got some gigs coming up. I'm going to wait, and I'll do it in a few weeks. Huge mistake, by the way. Huge mistake. Don't ever do that to yourself.
Was it the sort of thing where you got the news and you should have had it taken care of right then and there?
Yeah, because the next few weeks were torture of thinking what's gonna happen, what's gonna you know what I mean, and the what.
It's like going on a roller coaster. If you could start right at the top of the roller coaster and go straight down, it'd be one thing. But the going up the track and the anticipation and the expectations,
exactly. And so I did my gigs like I was planning on doing, and I remember. I was doing a gig up at the Signature Room, top of the Hancock. I played brunch up there sometimes, and just I had all of a sudden this dark thought came over me. It was about 3 days before surgery or so, and I said, "Man, what if I can't play again?" And then I stopped
because that is your bread and butter. That is
right.
I get it.
I stopped myself and I said, "Okay, you got to just stop. You got to relax, and." So I went to the surgery, and this was February now of last year, and instead of 2 hours of surgery, it ended up being about 5 hours of surgery, and it had shown signs of bleeding again, which can be potentially deadly, or just really incapacitate you,
right?
Horribly. It was larger, it was deeper, it was more connected than they thought. It took them obviously, twice the amount of time. I spent 16 days in the hospital. 10 of which were on a rehab floor, just working on, PT and OT and speech every day.
What's the first memory you have coming out?
Okay, so this is funny. You'll appreciate this. I was in obviously ICU for 2 days, and the Blackhawks were playing Detroit that night. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to see this game. And it was like, it's a rivalry game, and I love that. And I was sitting in there, and my the stuff watching the game, and my sister was like yelling at me to keep it down because I was like screaming like go, and then I started to go, Detroit sucks. And my sister said, she goes, that's when I knew you were okay. So
but doing that slurred, I just had brain surgery voice
totally.
Must have been amazing.
I was I sounded like Will Ferrell, where he's like, wait, pull what out? And that's, and it was, but I remember that, and there was a nurse that was British, and she was, a sweetheart, and I was like, hey, okay, I was making fun of her accent, so they knew at that point that, I had come out okay, and we're
through the darkness.
Yeah, pretty much, but, the other first memory on the scary side was when I woke up, I did not have use of my right arm at all.
Terrifying.
I mean, completely paralyzed. I mean, to the point where, you want to talk about a surreal moment in your life, instantly your brain sends, the synapses, like, in, like I'm talking now with my hands, like, shocking. But like I'm like, in my brain, it was like, move my arm. Nothing. I couldn't move the arm at all, and my hand.
That sounds like a super stressful, high anxiety moment.
Yeah, and my hand was clenched, and I know you all can't see this, but our wonderful host was clenched like this in a kung fu G.I. Joe death grip.
Okay.
I could not open it. I couldn't move my hand. I couldn't move my arm. I couldn't. And it felt like, the feeling when you're, when you obviously sit on your foot or something like that and falls asleep. Mm-hmm. And then, you know how awful that can be. And you're like, you get up and eventually you shake it out and it stops. It wouldn't stop. It was like that constantly.
Oh, man.
And like there was no way to get comfortable. It was just, I'm like, okay, well, this is not what I expected,
Well, I want to talk about how that's led to what you're up to now. Which is fascinating to me because you were a piano player. I said you were a piano savant. I want to talk about how you're able to navigate around everything that came with this in order to maintain your career. But first, we're sitting here. We have bags of hot food sitting on our laps. It seems almost cruel to make you tell me all these stories without actually eating the food. No. Now, you picked the place. Tell me about Dear Frank's. Why do you like it?
Wide variety of menu. Like, you can get the awesome, Vienna dog and all that sort of stuff. But then they got lots of other stuff. Like I actually went healthier tonight. And
you did
turkey Polish.
Did you need help with that? I feel bad.
No. I did not get the French fries. But they got good stuff. They got good stuff all the way around, and my kids also like it. So that's probably part of the reason.
So I went with the regular Polish. I'm shamed by your healthiness. I was doing so good. I was eating so well yesterday. I went completely off the rails. Took my son to an event. On the way home, I was starving. He was starving. Had an 8 o'clock Egg McMuffin, and it was all downhill from there.
Oh, boy, yeah. Well,
this Polish looks great. It looks like it's charred and it's split.
There you go.
It's too big for the bun, and it smells divine.
We can take our time, like I said, to discuss the fine differences between the turkey Polish and the regular Polish.
Oh, dude, this is sweet. This is really good.
Yeah.
I should mention, we both like music a lot. Iowa has a new speaker out called the Exos 9. It's basically like a big home stereo speaker, portable battery-powered box. Super high-quality sound. I've heard this, like side-by-side testing. It sounds amazing. It's a portable sound you can take anywhere. It's big, portable, long battery life. You can find out more at iowa.us.com, aiwa.us.com. And if you do buy one, leave a note for the seller that you were sent by Car Con Carne. They'll send you some kind of a high five over the mail, maybe. But Iowa, it's amazing product in this Exos thing. Cool stuff. All right, so the food is great. I'm loving this Polish. Let's talk. So you had this brain surgery, and I know medical costs for anyone suck. You are a musician who, it's not like you go to an office 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You do gigs.
Right.
So when you can't do gigs, if you don't work, you don't play, or you don't get paid, basically.
Correct.
So there was a stressful moment, and I know there was a fundraising campaign for you. Tell me about that.
So the realization when I kind of, got through the fog of the initial time and I couldn't move my arm and then couldn't open my hand was that I probably wasn't going home in a couple days and I probably wasn't playing in a few weeks, and like you mentioned, no play, no pay. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I will say this, insurance-wise, my lovely wife, does have a 9 to 5 job and thankfully does have our insurance and, thank God for that. Because, you can't even, I can't even imagine,
oh God, no.
without. So a couple of days into the hospital, my dad and my sister, I think my mom, I think all of them, they kind of brainstormed and they wrote up this GoFundMe, and posted it. And I got to tell you, I had what I like to refer to as the George Bailey experience.
Explain.
I when George is in trouble, and and then the whole scenario of not being born and all the how he affected people's lives, and then he come back at the end and everyone's bringing the money, and it's either the George Bailey experience or like your own funeral experience, like the sort of things where people talk about your praise and sing your praises about what you've meant to them and what you've done. And I mean, the outpouring that came from that and what people said, the messages and everything, I mean, it's still now. I get emotional about thinking about it now, even, because it was unreal. Just people, I always try to live my life, not to be corny about it, always giving to people and helping people and always, and just like, I felt like the same thing, like I'm in trouble, and everyone kind of continues to rally around me during this time, which is, you can't say enough about that.
It's amazing. And I don't want to derail you as you're talking about these deeply emotional things. As you were talking, I ingested a couple of sport peppers. I'm Polish. Starting to hiccup, things could get bad pretty quickly. I think I might be through the worst of it, but I don't want to all of a sudden hiccup in the middle of you talking about these deeply wrenching,
you can,
serious things. The Car con Carne comes with some risk, David. I want to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you got to a point, at some point, where you said, I got to go back to work. And I'm sure you missed playing piano.
Oh, my God. Well, I think the thing that musicians can relate to and understand with this is that, we all started playing for various reasons, obviously, but...
And for you, it was the chicks.
No doubt. I was 4, and I was into the chicks.
Right.
No, in all seriousness, playing for me is it's not just, obviously I've been fortunate enough to make a living doing it, but it's my love, it's my passion, it's what I love to do. And
right, it's a career and a hobby.
Yeah, and to me that's, wow, how lucky can you get? But a couple months in, what sort of happened was my hand sort of got forced a little bit. We had a friend of mine who I do some of the dueling piano gigs with.
Are you done with your food?
I'm getting close.
All right. I got a garbage bag ready for you.
I got the sport pepper coming up, and I don't want to. A friend of mine who I do some dueling gigs with, we had a bat mitzvah, of all things. And it was on the books, and it was the end of May. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not, there's no way. There's no way. So what I did was I called my dad in to play and come in and do the Hebrew set with me, which they were going to want. And I did the rest, and it was the first time I had played. I did it all left-handed. And
are you a lefty?
No.
Dear God.
No. I'm right-handed. I've had to learn to, to write, to do everything.
To go tinkle.
Yeah, everything you can imagine. And it's, the funny story about that is I was in the hospital. I had sushi.
Uh-huh.
And I was eating chopsticks in the hospital, left-handed. And a couple of people that were there were like, I can't even do that with my my good hand, let alone.
Oh yeah, forget it, not me.
And so, anyhow, so the bottom line was that gig kind of gave me the confidence and the the power to sort of say, okay, you know what, I gotta forge on. I can't, even with the great amount that people collected with the GoFundMe, and Blotto did a fundraiser for me.
Mr. Blotto, who we'll talk about.
Yeah. and that was really, really, really special to me as well. And you know, I mean, even with all that, it's like, you know, you're a dad, you have kids, you know how expensive it is to, you know, to live today.
It is 1,000 cuts. I mean, it's just a bunch of little things. Mm-hmm. They add up quickly.
And so I said, okay, I have to get back to work, no matter what. And that gave me the confidence to do it. And I started to call around to the people that I played for before and say, okay, look, I'm ready. I'm not going to get any more ready than I am now. Let's just go forward and let's just go. And so I started playing. I did a couple things at Sluggers and played some, you know, after some Cub games. And
so you're playing up and down the piano with one hand?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you basically had to retrain yourself how to play.
Well, it's really hard because you're going to try to cover as much two-handed stuff with one hand as you can. And then, you know, there's only so much you can do, obviously, you know, but, you know, when I sing and play, you know, it's kind of like you're backing yourself up, so you can get away with just laying down a groove and playing, or, you know, recording and playing. The gigs I can't do, ironically enough, are the solo gigs where there's no singing, like
Makes
the
sense.
Hancock, because I can't play the melodies and stuff like that.
Makes sense.
You know, that's too difficult. But
that's a bummer because I'm sure those are nice money gigs.
yeah, and that's the problem too, is that I'm not able. I'm totally dependent on. Thank you, sir. Totally dependent on doing, you know, doing those gigs and playing, you know, the dueling gigs, and you know, there's only so much I can do, and I'm dependent on those people to give me those bookings.
Right.
And you know,
Quick interruption. Those fries that you didn't have, sinful. So good. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. Well, you know what, mister? You're going to have to spend a little extra time in the gym now, and I'm not.
Well, here's the good thing. We're next to a place called Eco Gym. We're in a strip mall right now.
Yeah.
They're open 24/7, 365.
Oh, my God. Let's go. Look. And they have memberships as low as $0 per month.
You know, it's time to jump on.
You can't beat that.
If I were strapped onto an elliptical, I don't think I would know what it is. I don't think I could identify an elliptical in a equipment lineup.
I like the elliptical, actually. It's kind of good. Less stress on the joints.
You put the lip in elliptical. Dude.
I do.
All right, sorry. So gigs, piano, one hand. Holy crap! You're doing this all one-handed, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to work as much as I can, and I'm trying to, you know.
If someone's listening right now and they say, "I want an awesome piano player who's reliable, who has experience and credentials," where can they find you? Can people track you down?
You know what? I do most of my gig promotion on my Facebook music page, David B. Allen Music. I am embarrassed to admit that I do not have my own website. I know that's ridiculous.
Well, you know, Facebook page is enough.
I do. I promote my gigs and stuff on there, and you know, I'm also part of, you know, different dueling piano. I do some work for Chicago Dueling Pianos and a couple other dueling piano companies around the Midwest and stuff like that. So, you know,
if you want to make those dueling pianos gigs more interesting, someone must die at the end. It should be a true dueling pianos where someone perishes after the end of the performance.
We've actually had people they want us to die. Like, so what do you guys do? Do you actually duel? I'm like, yeah, we actually take out nickel-plated pistols and march our pianos 10 paces and turn around and shoot. That's what we do.
You're no yellow-bellied coward.
Yeah, exactly.
Draw, you SOB.
Come on. I'm giving you 10 seconds to draw a gun. Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so you're doing these gigs. I think it's remarkable. I mean, and I realize it is by necessity or out of necessity that you had to do this. You had to teach yourself how to figure out.
Well,
how to,
once I win, let me be very clear. I didn't mean to interrupt, but once I win the lottery tonight, that's done.
Now we're recording the show on January 12th, right?
13th.
13th. Thank you. It's the night of the $1.5 billion Powerball.
You got to say that like Dr. Evil, otherwise it's
$1 billion.
$1.5 billion, and then put your
I'm a man of modest needs and wants, David. As you know, I'm a simple man. All I really want, if I win the Powerball tonight, yes, pay for the kids' school. Like, make sure that they're all set for college. Of course. Once that's out of the way, I want a skee ball table. Because, am I wrong? Skee ball's awesome.
No, it's totally awesome.
And a Coca-Cola freestyle machine, like the kind they have in the movie theaters, where you can have like a raspberry Coke Zero.
Right.
Just any kind of combination. Today I want to mix up raspberry Fanta with cherry Sprite.
Here's the thing, like I wonder what a pain in the ass that would be to refill, though.
Well, if you win the Powerball, you got a guy coming in to do it.
That's a good point.
You've got your freestyle guy.
You're free, dude. I call him my freestyle guy. He's like,
you gotta have a guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd have my pizza guy who'd make me pizza. In fact, I would actually just buy out Pequods. I wouldn't have it open for business. I would just make sure it was always staffed for those days I wanted to walk in and have a pizza.
No, what you would do is you would build a house and just put Pequods inside.
Yeah, build a house around Pequods.
Right, in the wing. It would be like your entertainment wing with skee ball and
Pequods, God, yes.
and a freedom machine.
That'd be amazing.
There you go.
And it's right by the Metro. Public transportation.
There you go.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Forest preserve in case I want to go for a walk or kill someone and hide the body.
Yeah.
As you do in a forest preserve.
Yes. What else are they there for?
Thank you.
Because they're closed at sunset.
So we've talked a lot about you as a solo piano player, the Dueling Pianos. Take me back a little bit. I think so many people in the area are familiar with the name Mr. Blotto.
Yeah.
You were there.
1990. I joined in the summer of 93.
And how long had the band been running up until that point?
I think they started around 90 or so.
Because I thought you were there pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, they were a 4-piece initially.
Okay.
They did not have any keyboard player. They recorded one album that had some piano and stuff on it, but they did not have a keyboard player playing with them live. I went back in history with Paul Bolger, the singer. Paul was part of Adventures in Dining, which I was in, when we were still in high school, when Todd was playing drums. And,
Todd Zuckerman, now of Styx.
Yes, and Todd's brother Joel was playing bass, and, we used to play the gigs at the Hidden Cove.
The Hidden Cove on Lincoln Avenue.
Lincoln Avenue.
Oh, my God, that place is such a dive. Now, this is Lincoln Avenue before there was a police department over there in between like Foster and Peterson, where it was just like Hooker Alley.
Yeah.
From, that whole stretch.
We used to play gigs there from 9 to 4
as teenagers.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was in high school.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. And so
that place is still there. I drove past it.
I know it is. They still have the same sign, too.
They totally do. That is a textbook dive.
Oh, my God.
And back then, it was scarier. There was an El Taco Loco, I want to say, down the street from there.
Yeah.
The Crazy Taco.
Blotto did not have a keyboard player, and I joined in 93, and I stayed until the end of 2005. So I did a lot of gigs. We did tons of stuff, played everywhere with them. And my favorite all the time was the festivals in the summertime. Retro on Roscoe and Rock Around the Block, and those were so much fun because it's just like we always had the killer ending time slot, and we play on the big stage at the end of the night, and it was just thousands of people. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I was trying to explain to my son, who's been hiding in the back seat, keep
it down back there, would you?
Trying to explain.
By the way, for the record, he downed his what did he get to eat?
Brat.
A brat. He downed his brat before we even
my door wasn't closed.
Before we unwrapped anything.
My door wasn't closed.
He's like, how's your food? Done.
Yeah. Like it's a race. Like there are no winners. There are no trophies for this.
No.
Yeah, this isn't a competition. No. But if it was competition, he would have won. But I was trying to explain what a jam band is, and it was hard for me to explain other than you got to have people who can really play their instruments in a jam band.
Yeah. I mean, it's the collective. It's the collective improv. You have to really know how to play your instrument. But the thing, more than anything, is you got to listen. You got to have huge ears, and you know, there's a lot of people that talk about the direct path from your ears to your hands, and there's very few people that have that kind of ability, so that it's an instantaneous, you know, hear, interpret, and react all at the same time. And you hear what the guitar player is playing, and you're like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to go from where he ended that riff and go to, you know, it flies by. You know, people, you know, don't think, you know, don't think much about that, but there's definitely there's an art form to it.
Well, there's a give and take too, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the person who's like kind of pulls all the attention toward him, and
not in a jam band, not in a collective jam. You know, I mean, there are times where when the guy's going off and he's the guy playing the solo, and you know, great. But when you're in a space like, you know, like the Dead would be, or Fish, or any of these other jam bands, you know, this big open space, you know, is about the collective. It's about the collective, and about, you know, the real good musician knows when to shut up. You know, when knows not to play.
Well, that's showbiz, right? Leave them wanting more.
Yeah. You got to know when to just be like, okay, not overplay. And it's interesting because when I got into dueling pianos, it's like a lot of dueling piano players are just piano players, and they've never really done anything else. And you could tell the piano players that have been in a band and the ones that have not. Because the ones that have been in a band, they kind of get where their place is, and they're not going to overplay. The ones that have not, it's like just all day long, just like, oh, you know, and they're used to filling up all that space because we've all done solo shows, and it's like, oh, well, I got to play, and I'm going to play a solo, and I'm going to, you know, no, you know, if you're backing up your partner, you know, shut up and let that person play, and know when to not play. You know, it's a real maturity thing with playing, in my opinion, you know.
So what led you to leave Blotto?
At the time, so this is the end of 2005, I said, I'd like to, I'm going to use my air quotes here with my bad hand.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of a struggle there.
There you go. There we go. Normalize my life.
Because, gigging is...
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. At that time, let's see, so that was 2005, you know, and I was in my mid-30s then. And
well, that can't be, because we're the same age. I think I was only 15 then. Actually, in 2005, I was in the process of being fired by the Zone. So as you were leaving Blotto, I was being wished well in my future endeavors.
We'd like to talk to you about our new direction. Come on and sit down, would you, please?
Have you ever heard this story? It is so textbook radio. It's so awful. I did middays for this radio station called The Zone, WZZN. It had been a million different formats. But as of the time I was there, it was a hard rock station. Like, you know, Metallica and Slipknot and all that. I was doing middays, and it was 11:45. Someone walked in my studio and said, hey, they need you in the conference room right now.
Oh, God.
I said, well, you know, I'm on the air right now. That's okay. Someone will run your board for you. I walk to the conference room. This is in the ABC building, 190 North State.
Right.
All the blinds are drawn in the conference room.
Never a good sign.
I walk in. All the disc jockeys are there. The program director is there. And some stranger from corporate HR was there. And we were all fired. My pal Freak was on the phone. We were all fired en masse. And I was able to get in the studio one last time afterward, and I played for Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica, just as a coda, before they switched to oldies. So we went from For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica to like Chantilly Lace.
That's a great mashup right there, by the way.
And yeah, to be fair, the Big Bopper's kind of awesome, but still.
Yeah, no, I agreed. Yeah, I mean, so I wanted to normalize my life in the sense of I didn't want to, be running and doing gigs till all hours of the night, and and at the time, I don't remember if the bars were still smoky then. I think, it was disgusting to be in the bars and you couldn't breathe. And
that was the worst. Before the smoking ban in public places, you'd come home and you couldn't get right in bed. You had to shower.
Oh my God! I would leave it was wintertime, I would leave my coat outside.
Absolutely.
For let it air out overnight to try and, oh my God, terrible.
It was the worst, and your hair stunk.
Yeah, everything. Brutal. And so I said, okay, I'm going to normalize my life. And at the time, and you'll appreciate this, I may have told you about this before, my father-in-law, for years ran meat business. He was a middleman, basically. He bought stuff at the market, and he would, put his mark on it and then sell it to restaurants. And he had some really big clients that he knew. He didn't do exclusive for these places, but he had, he got certain things he did with Gibson's. Mm-hmm. He did certain things with Charlie Trotter. He knew Charlie, for long time, whatever. And so he made a good business out of it, and he was basically going to be retiring, and he was going to let me run the business and take it over. And so I did, and I started to do it in 2006, right after I left, and it was great. And then 2007 hit, and the market and the economy and everything crashed, and the company just, Gibson's hired a corporate chef that cut cut everything.
Yeah, the bottom just fell out.
Yeah, I bought a refrigerated. Try that again. Refrigerated. We're
going to stay here till you get it right, David.
Refrigerated. There are still sometimes certain words, as a result of this brain thing. The speech will still... I know that, and I know that your speech is still altered because of this. Oh, yeah. It's still, not like it was. God, if you would have heard me, about, the first few weeks out of surgery, I was like, brutal, but...
Well, I mean, I saw you, excuse me, toward the end of summer, I think, and you sound better now than you did then.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a clear
improvement.
Keeps
getting better. So, so... The economy just swallowed it up. It was the Walmart effect. Bigger companies started not only selling these restaurants their napkins and their forks and their salt shakers, they started selling meat too. And it's like, you can't compete with that.
For sure.
So I always continue to play, and I was doing Dueling Pianos even then and other gigs, and when the business started falling, I got more into full-time doing the dueling thing, and there I was again, back in the bars and playing, and still not able to normalize my life, so to speak, and here I am today, I've got to go down to play at Sluggers on Thursday and Friday, and Saturday I have to go to Waterloo, Iowa, to do a corporate gig out there. So,
are you okay driving?
Yeah. I got cleared to drive in May of last year.
Okay, and I asked that knowing full well that you met me here in a car.
Yeah, well, that's okay. No, I had to. I had to go and get certified.
I bet you did.
There was a there was a guy that took me out, behind the wheel, and we had to, show that I was competent to do everything, in fairness, and they cleared me medically so that if I, was to get into an accident, there wouldn't be, you weren't medically cleared to drive, right, and then you're sued, and everything is over at that point. But speaking of that, see, look, you mentioned you need the gym, and look right in front of us, there's Top Driver right there.
Oh, yeah.
You see, you can learn to drive.
There's a jewelry store here, a Szechuan North.
and then when you're really, sick from eating all that stuff, there's a Walgreens you can get it some.
Yeah, no, it's a very lot going on here in the strip
mall. Very much
And
so.
Szechuan North is pretty busy. I wonder what Szechuan South is like. My guess is it's not terribly busy.
I don't think they're very friendly with one another at all.
No.
I really don't. It's a bitter, heated rivalry, I think.
You know what Szechuan South hates? Obama.
Yeah, well, it was interesting to watch that last State of the Union.
Oh, dude, I'm not even talking politics. I can't. Other than, dear God, if Trump becomes president.
My podcast would be the greatest podcast ever.
I can't even. The discourse online and elsewhere, it's so adversarial, so acrimonious. I just can't. It's not worth the energy.
I might move, actually.
Where are we going? Take me with you.
I'm thinking Mexico because Canada, I mean, it's great, but I don't want more cold weather.
Yeah, I hate shoveling.
Yeah, I mean, I get myself into a, reasonably safe resort town in Mexico,
Yeah, I mean, we could condition our bodies to tolerate the waterborne parasites. Let's go.
I'm in. I'm telling you, because I'm with you. I've never been more fearful for this nation than I am going into this election. And it's interesting, as you go on social media and look at all the stuff that people on both sides, and I don't even know what I am at this point anymore. I'm such a mixed bag of political convictions that I couldn't even tell you what the hell I am. But all I can tell you is I'm terrified.
Yeah.
If you get Trump versus Hillary, oh my God. Good luck, people. Good luck.
That's it for us monkeys. Good night.
Yeah, pretty much. We're done. All
right, so David, before we wrap up, did I even ask you how was your turkey Polish?
I got to tell you, I don't have the regular Polish like you had to compare, but it was really tasty. It was good.
Yeah, mine was solid. I would happily come back to Dear Franks.
Yeah, it was very, very, very tasty, and I feel like I didn't, I didn't have the fries, so,
The fries were great, and there's one close to me, so I may go back to the one over by me.
There you go.
All right, before I let you go, and
Yes,
thank you
sir.
for doing this.
Absolutely.
Before I let you go, we went to high school together. What do you remember most about high school?
Well, as I mentioned to you before, we, memory serves, we were the funniest people in our class.
The superlatives, yeah.
Yes. So therefore, right now, as teamed up together in the front seat of this automobile,
Being the funniest people in Skokie isn't...
we are the funniest dude around. Period.
Not a huge
What do I
accomplishment.
remember? What do I?
Which, by the way, high school. You mentioned Todd Zuckerman, friend of ours. He's in Styx. He was one of those guys who you saw from an early age, and you just knew, oh well, he's going to be playing drums the rest of his life,
For sure, no doubt.
And I thought the same of you with the keyboards.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Other than Todd, it seems like everyone we graduated high school with became a lawyer.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Not us.
No,
We decided to pursue something art related.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to be creative.
Now we're sitting on our riches. Good call, guys.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Well, you know what, though? So many people that I talk to that are lawyers or whatever, anything else like that, it's the grass is always greener.
Without a doubt.
They're like, oh, man, I would love to be doing something creative. And I'm like, well,
Yeah, I'm working 13 hours a day. I've got my laptop out on the train trying to file papers and whatnot. I can see
Right.
what...
Yeah, I mean, I you know what? God bless the people like my wife who can go and work in an office. I just think of Lumberg pretty much. Yeah, if you could go ahead.
I worked in a cube farm for a year.
Oh,
and
God.
I wanted to blow my brains out.
Yeah.
It was...
I couldn't do it.
No.
I couldn't do it.
And I realized it's a mindset. It's for some people. It's not for me. It's not for you.
Peter, what's happening?
So, all right, David Allen, I think you're a delight. I adore you. And thank you for sitting shotgun.
I adore you more. And you know what? Your son back there, he needs to keep it down. That's all.
Well, I told him not to interrupt the podcast.
I know. He's just got to keep it down.
He's just observing.
Way too rowdy.
Maybe he'll do a report on this for school.
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. I'm going to get kicked out of school.
Right. I thought you said your dad was on the radio. What are you talking about? Going to his car?
Lies!
Right. Back in the day, I used to do this sort of thing in a radio studio. Now I have a Mazda 3.
Before you got fired from the zone. That was the end. That was the end.
That was, hang on. No, that wasn't the last full-time radio job I had. It was close to it, though.
The zone. I remember the zone.
The zone.
Yeah.
The billboards were like, rock hard, 94.7 The Zone.
Yeah, pumping more wattage into your cottage. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's like, yay!
It's like, I remember discussions, like music meetings, where we'd say, now, should we play Cradle of Filth before 7 p.m., or should that just be dayparted for overnights? I know we're going to add an amphetamine by Cradle of Filth this week, but I don't know if it'll sound good in the same hour as Demu Borger. These are the conversations. I can't believe the zone didn't last.
Really? Yeah. Shocking. I wonder where all those people are now.
Oh, which people? The listeners or the people?
Well, the listeners, we know that already, but the people that terminated everyone,
Well, I know where everyone I worked with is, but I don't know where the corporate suits are. I don't even think they remember they owned the station. It was it's the Disney company. It's ABC, so I don't even.
Well,
it was a statistical blip in their.
You wish upon a star.
That's me.
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
All right, so David Allen, thank you for joining Car Con Carne.
Thank
Long
you.
overdue.
Thank you for having me.
And seriously, best wishes for your ongoing recovery, rehabilitation. I mean, the difference I see in you now from a few months ago is huge. And so I can only imagine that will continue to.
Well, in all seriousness, it's good to hear that because it's really hard. The incremental changes for me are beyond so slow that I can't
I'm sure.
even feel it.
I'm sure.
And so it's good to hear that and good to, people that are like, oh, you couldn't even do that before. I'm like, oh, I guess you're right. So,
well, good. David, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Car Con Carne, if you like what you hear, even if you tolerate what you hear, let a friend know about it. We're on carconcarne.com, Twitter @CarConCarne. And because this is an expensive podcast to put together, it involves buying food every week. It involves hosting. It involves gas. I do survive on the kindness and benevolence of people on Patreon, patreon.com. Car Con Carne, you can contribute to the show on a monthly basis. There are some rewards, too. But a lot of people just contribute because they love the idea of supporting the future of car-based food podcasting. That's the show, David.
I love it.
The future of car-based food podcasting.
I agree.
You've got to own your niche. This is it.
You know what? I love it. I love it. And it was great being here. And I agree. Support.
I'd get Bolger in here. That'd be fun. You think he'd do it?
Yeah. Oh, he would for sure.
I'd love it.
I just committed him. You like that?
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. All right, cool. Car Con Carne, thanks for listening.